What if Ahsoka went to Utapau with Obi-Wan Kenobi in Revenge of the Sith? This is one I really enjoyed writing. I think it turned out quite well, so I hope you enjoy. Happy Ahsoka month. We're what, 12 days away or so from the show? Peak Star Wars, it's gonna be great. I'm excited, you're excited. I'm gonna put Ahsoka playlist in the description along with What If playlist in the description. Got a lot of videos like this, so hope you enjoy today's. Alright, enough talking, right? Let's get right into it. Ahsoka was in the Republic cruiser with Rex and the 501st on the way back to Coruscant. The mission was a success far sooner than anyone had expected. Mandalorian intel had informed Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, and the clones that Maul and his Mandalorians were in the sewer area, so when he stepped out to confront Ahsoka, a giant swarm of 501st clones had swarmed and stunned him. The mission came and went quickly. Mandalore was out of Maul's hands, and as Ahsoka reflected on it all, Coruscant came into view as they emerged from hyperspace. The cruiser contacted the Jedi Temple and it was relayed to the Jedi Council that Maul was being brought in by Ahsoka Tano. In the council chambers now, Mace Windu acknowledged the report and said they would be sending a strong security detail to make sure that Maul is securely locked up. Then they got back to their meeting. The council had just discovered the location of General Grievous, and they were sending Obi-Wan Kenobi to Utapau to fight him. As the meeting was being dismissed, Obi-Wan quickly asked the council for additional support. Destroying Grievous meant ending the war, and Obi-Wan wanted to ensure that the general was destroyed. The council told Obi-Wan that they unfortunately just did not have the Jedi to spare, and it was clear that this made Anakin angry, but Obi-Wan quickly jumped in to ask about Ahsoka. She was just returning, and she could take Rex and the same members of the 501st that arrested Maul. The council considered it, and Yoda made the decision to allow this. He had a connection to Ahsoka, and he knew it hurt many Jedi to see her walk away. If she wanted to help Obi-Wan, the council would allow it. And Ahsoka, Rex, and a few clones flew toward the Jedi Temple on a transport ship. The planet was astounding to look at, and Ahsoka prepared to enter the Jedi Temple for the first time since leaving the Order. She was taking Maul to the Temple Detention Center, as the Jedi had convinced the Republic that Maul was far too dangerous for a regular cell, and she landed in the Temple hangar with Rex to find Temple guards waiting with a few Jedi Knights and their Padawans. Ahsoka looked around the hangar, the same hangar that Barriss Offee had bombed and framed her for, sending her life down a much different path than she ever expected. She wanted to see Anakin, but as she looked toward the door, it was instead Obi-Wan and Cody approaching instead. Rex and Cody greeted each other while Obi-Wan came to Ahsoka. He began detailing his mission, and he told Ahsoka how important it was. He then said that he needed her help. She had fought Grievous a couple times, like him, and together they could end this separatist threat swiftly. Ahsoka asked about Anakin, and Obi-Wan said that he had a different mission, but he would be able to say goodbye to them very soon. Rex looked at Ahsoka and said, "One last mission?" And Ahsoka considered it. Then she agreed. Obi-Wan smiled, and they made their way to the Republic military base, where they would be taking off from. Upon arrival, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka found Anakin. Ahsoka noted that there was a deep sadness behind his eyes. This war was draining on him. Their relationship was a bit awkward after she'd left the Order, but she gave Anakin a hug as the two of them said goodbye. She didn't know if she would be returning to the temple after this, so she acted like it was the last time she may ever see Anakin. She wanted to say more, all three of them did, but the words just were not there. Taking off for Utapau, they took a separate ship from the clones, but her and Kenobi were together. On the trip, Ahsoka asked what Anakin's mission was, and she felt Obi-Wan's conflict. Whatever it was, he didn't like it, and a moment later he told her. Obi-Wan said that Anakin was assigned a special mission by the Council. He was to observe the Chancellor and report his findings. Ahsoka crossed her arms and said by observe, he meant spy. She then asked why the Council would ask him to spy on the Chancellor, and Obi-Wan explained that the Senate has allowed the Chancellor to remain in office far longer than his term expired, and the Council wants to know what his true intentions are. Ahsoka was turned away, but looked back at Obi-Wan now to say that the Chancellor has been a great friend and mentor to Anakin, and she can't imagine that Anakin is happy about this. Obi-Wan said that she is correct. Anakin is greatly upset about it, and perhaps Ahsoka should speak to him. She told Obi-Wan that as soon as Grievous is destroyed, the two of them will leave the battle to Rex and Cody and go back to Anakin together. He needs them. Obi-Wan considered it, then agreed. The clones, with the aid from the 501st, had more than enough troopers to win without the Jedi, and the two of them landed discreetly on Utapau, making their way through the Sinkhole City and finding Grievous on the 10th level. Kenobi and Ahsoka formed a plan, and Kenobi jumped down, giving Grievous a friendly "hello there" before engaging in battle. Ahsoka sat at the top, waiting for her cue. Obi-Wan engaged in the duel, chopping a couple arms off Grievous, and then the clone army poured in. Ahsoka heard a general laugh, telling Obi-Wan that he is doomed. Obi-Wan said, "Oh, I don't think so," and unleashed a massive force push, sending Grievous toward the ceiling. There was her cue. Flipping into the air, she cut off the remaining arms of Grievous and watched as he slammed into the ceiling and then fell to the ground. He screamed in his robotic voice, landing without limbs. He tried to crawl away, but with Obi-Wan and Ahsoka on both sides of him, he had nowhere to go. This time, Ahsoka force-pushed him at Obi-Wan, and the Jedi General stabbed into Grievous's abdomen, then ripped his lightsaber up through his robotic skull. He was destroyed. The surprise attack of Ahsoka was vital. He was gone. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka observed the battle below. Rex and Cody were back-to-back, taking out each and every droid that dared look their way, and the two Jedi knew that this battle was won. Obi-Wan had agreed to go back and to talk to Anakin with Ahsoka, and so they alerted Rex and Cody that they were in charge, before taking off back to Coruscant. The trip back was weird. General Grievous was destroyed. The war should be over soon, with Separatist leaders needing to go into hiding. Yet something was off. The Force was dark, and suddenly, in the void of space, surrounded by the blue blur of hyperspace, something changed. It was like a lightsaber had just cut right through the entire Jedi Order. Death, destruction, pain. Ahsoka and Obi-Wan looked at each other with horror. "Anakin," they said in unison. The rest of the trip back to Coruscant was riddled with anxiety and horror. Something was terribly wrong. Jedi they'd been able to feel in the Force for years were just gone. It was like the light of the Force that was always on had been turned off, like they were blinded in the dark. And finally, they emerged from hyperspace and flew down into Coruscant as quickly as they could. It was the dead of night, and what they saw was worse than anything they'd imagined. The Jedi Temple, smoking and on fire. On the stairs, thousands of clones poured into it. As they flew by to the temple hangar, Ahsoka froze in horror again. She recognized those clones anywhere. The 501st, Anakin's Legion. Landing in the hangar, clones surrounded their ship. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka locked eyes, understanding the situation. Igniting their lightsabers, they flipped out of the ship, throwing clones against the wall, cutting down their blasters, doing their best to knock them out. Ahsoka cleared her half without killing any, then looked to Obi-Wan. A clone had a clear shot on him from behind, and Ahsoka made a decision, throwing her lightsaber in a moment of desperation. It went right through the clone, and he died. Obi-Wan turned, giving her a thankful nod, and Ahsoka walked to the clone, removing his helmet. It was Commander Oppo, who she had gone into battle with many times. There was a deep hatred in his eyes as he died, and Ahsoka put the helmet back on. These clones, something had happened to them. They weren't themselves any longer. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka ran into the main area of the temple, to find nothing but destruction. Jedi scattered across the floor, many of them littered with blaster bolt shots. The temple was falling, and many Jedi were still alive to defend what remained. Obi-Wan said they must go to the council chambers. The younglings would be hiding away up there. It was emergency protocol, and so they did, pushing away clones as they did so, killing them if they had to. They got into the elevator, and before the door closed, Ahsoka could have sworn she saw someone with a blue lightsaber cutting down 2 Jedi. The door closed and she shook it off for now. At the top, they quickly crammed all of the younglings into the elevator with them. They were not safe here, and the descent to the bottom began. As the door opened, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka began guiding the younglings out of the door, when a familiar lightsaber ignition was heard. The two of them looked up at the same time to find Anakin Skywalker staring daggers at them. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka understood. Their hearts were shattered, but Obi-Wan told Ahsoka to take the younglings and go. Now. He would find them soon. And Ahsoka did so. She wanted to stay, but she was responsible for the lives of all of these children. Giving one last look at Anakin, she took off. Obi-Wan circled Anakin, asking what had happened to him. Blaster fire and explosions filled the air. Jedi and clones died all around them, and Anakin said he was fulfilling his destiny. The Jedi Order had failed to keep the Republic safe, and tried to execute the Chancellor. It was time the Order falls, and Anakin swung at Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan blocked the strikes from Anakin. He wanted to help his former Padawan, but he was surrounded by darkness. Obi-Wan had to defend himself or die, bring an end to this terror. The clash of lightsabers resonated through the corridors of the temple, the blue blades clashing in a strong duel. Anakin's strikes were full of aggression, fueled by years of inner turmoil. Obi-Wan's defense was not breaking as he parried and blocked, all the while attempting to disarm the man who was once his brother. Anakin pressed forward, a series of ferocious attacks, his anger fueling his blows. Obi-Wan expertly deflected the onslaught, each swing of their blades showing their massive training together. The combatants moved with a blinding speed, the Force guiding their every move as they exchanged powerful strikes, their lightsabers a blur of blue motion. Ahsoka ran through the temple, reaching a balcony where she found Master Kelleran Beck escorting the young Grogu out of the temple. Upon finding him, Ahsoka said there was a transport in the temple that could fit him, Grogu, and all of the younglings Ahsoka had with her. Kelleran understood and took the younglings as quick as he could, watching Ahsoka run back into the temple to find Anakin and Obi-Wan. As the battle reached its peak, Ahsoka emerged from the shadows. She moved as quickly as she could, watching as Anakin sent Obi-Wan's lightsaber to the ground. He lifted his saber to cut Obi-Wan down, but Ahsoka leapt into the air, inserting herself into the middle of the duel. Anakin was caught off guard, and with a forceful thrust, she created a momentary gap in between Anakin and the two of them. Looking around, she realized the temple was lost. Jedi had either escaped or died, and now she had the same choice. Grabbing Obi-Wan as he grabbed his lightsaber, the two of them sprinted back to the balcony. As they went out to a middle entrance, clones poured out from both sides. Trapped, Ahsoka saw 5 clones fly in on speeders, and she cut them down as Obi-Wan covered from behind her, deflecting blaster bolts as clones poured out, deflecting them until Ahsoka called to him. He backflipped, landing on a speeder, and the two of them took off, catching a glimpse of Anakin as he watched them go. Sometime later, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka met up with Yoda aboard the Tantive 4. He was the only one surviving that they could find. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka were haunted by what they had just seen in the temple, the destruction, the hatred, the dark side, Anakin. But they knew they had work to do. They had to find him, and Yoda said he would go to Sidious while Ahsoka and Kenobi go find Anakin. Darth Sidious spoke to Darth Vader after the massacre on the Jedi Temple. Upon hearing that Kenobi and Ahsoka survived, he told Vader that in time, they would come for him. It would serve as a final test. Sidious instructed Vader to go to Mustafar, destroy the Separatist leaders, and in time, his old friends would find him. After some contemplation, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka made their way to Padme's quarters. If anyone would know where Anakin was, it was her. Upon arrival, Padme was shocked to see them, and even more shocked by what they told her. Padme could not believe it, but the 2 Jedi that she loved just after Anakin, the only 2 Jedi that would never lie to her about something like this. And with Ahsoka here to back up the story, the horrors of it all, she agreed to take them to Mustafar. Anakin had visited them just before, and said that's where he was going. Before they took off, Obi-Wan provided a bit of optimism, saying that Anakin was on his way to kill the younglings, but he was unable to. This would have cemented him in the dark side, but perhaps there is still some Anakin remaining. Soon, the 3 of them took off for Mustafar to find out. Darth Sidious was conflicted as he sat in the Senate chambers. Darth Vader was strong in the dark side, but his 3 biggest attachments could bring him back to the light if they played their cards right. He was concerned and ultimately decided to go to Vader. In the Force, he could feel Yoda somewhere around him, so he called every single available Royal Guard and every clone trooper down to him as he swiftly left for his shuttle. He simply could not let Vader be by himself right now. He wanted to test him, but if this test failed, Vader could come down on him. So, he left, getting to his shuttle, and as he got outside and boarded, he could hear nearby blaster fire, screaming, and a lightsaber blocking blaster bolts. As the shuttle took off, Sidious let out a laugh as he looked down at the Grand Master. Yoda watched as Sidious took off, most likely to find Darth Vader. He just had to hope now that Obi-Wan and Ahsoka could take out Vader and escape before the Dark Lord arrived. As more clones arrived, Yoda ran away, attempting to contact Bail Organa. Now on Mustafar, Darth Vader watched as Padme's ship landed on the landing platform. He ran out to greet her, but came to an abrupt halt when he saw who was aboard the ship as the ramp descended. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. Padme had betrayed him. Anakin was angry. He did everything for her. He gave up everything he'd known, and she was betraying him. Anakin ignited his lightsaber, but Obi-Wan and Ahsoka did not. Instead, they calmly walked down the ramp with Padme. They all loved Anakin. They wanted to help him, and a tear rolled down Anakin's cheek as Padme came right up to him. She told Anakin that what he was doing was wrong. Ahsoka said the Jedi were wrong about many things, and perhaps the Order had grown stale, but she told Anakin that he had let his mind become twisted. And Obi-Wan said that he was sorry for all of it, everything Anakin had gone through. But he also said that Anakin had to give this up now, put down his lightsaber, come back with them, defeat Darth Sidious. Padme grabbed his hand, and it looked like Anakin might give up this dark path, but then a new ship began descending to the platform. It was Darth Sidious. The ship landed, and the ramp revealed the Dark Lord of the Sith. He slowly walked towards Anakin. He asked Anakin what the problem was, why he wasn't attacking these traitorous Jedi. Anakin hesitated, then said he had become distracted. Sidious snarled, grabbing Ahsoka with the Force, bringing her close to Anakin, freezing her in place. Obi-Wan yelled and began to charge, but he was caught off guard as a flicker of lightning caught him and sent him to the edge of the platform. Padme stumbled backwards, scared. Sidious held Ahsoka directly in front of Anakin. He instructed Anakin to kill her, strike her down, and complete your path to the dark side of the Force, he told Anakin. They were on the edge of the platform now. Anakin could not step back without falling off the edge. Ahsoka in front of him, her eyes pleading for Anakin to take the right path. And in that moment, Anakin made a decision, the right decision, the decision of the Chosen One. He turned to kill Darth Sidious, but as he did so, a red lightsaber was ignited right through his abdomen. Anakin dropped his own lightsaber to the ground, as Sidious had stabbed him. Staring into the eyes of Anakin Skywalker, he told the boy he felt his betrayal immediately. Padme fell to her knees, her heart shattered. Ahsoka fell to the ground, and he charged the Sith Lord with Obi-Wan, but he pushed them both away. Obi-Wan got up and caught the eyes of Anakin, but his eyes were seemingly at peace with all of this. The pain, the suffering, hatred, sadness that was always in Anakin's eyes were gone, and in his dying moments, his eyes locked with Obi-Wan's, and Anakin gave a hand signal. Swiping twice across his mouth and then his nose, Obi-Wan understood the non-verbal signal. The two of them had practiced these signals for a long time. As Sidious laughed, Obi-Wan gave Anakin a friendly smile, almost as if to say goodbye. Then the plan went into motion. Anakin used his final bits of strength to grab Sidious's hands, holding them down so he couldn't use the Force right away. And at that same time, Obi-Wan used a giant Force push on Anakin's back. Anakin grabbed Sidious, and the two of them flew off of the landing platform. Anakin died in the air, remembering Padme, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan. And as he died, he heard the voice of Qui-Gon Jinn, telling Anakin to follow him in death. And Sidious screamed, flailing as he landed next to Anakin's body in the lava. Within seconds, he was swallowed up by the molten liquid. The Sith were gone. Anakin was gone. But in his final moment, Obi-Wan helped him to fulfill his destiny. Padme ran to Ahsoka, hugging her, crying, as Obi-Wan came to peace with it all. Weeks later, the Republic was reformed after Padme testified in front of the Senate about all of Palpatine's crimes against the Republic. After the death of Anakin, Padme had only become stronger. Seeing his heroic final move gave her reason to keep going. She safely gave birth to Luke and Leia, and was raising them here on Coruscant with the help of Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. She needed their help, as being Chancellor of the Republic was quite a tall task. The Jedi Order was scattered, but safe. Yoda was off in temporary exile, being with the Force until the time was right to bring all of the Jedi together again. Anakin looked on, happily, from the netherworld of the Force as Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Padme carried on the legacy of the Skywalker family. Folks, that's where we're ending it today. I really liked that one. I really wanted to do it in a way that Anakin didn't just, I had a lot recently where Anakin lives happily ever after. Not this time. But he also is still the chosen one, destroys the Sith in the end, himself and Sidious. I hope you enjoyed. I know people love the happy endings with Anakin, but we're taking it a different path today. Either way, happy Ahsoka month. We're almost there. More fanfictions, more lore regarding her and the show will be coming out, so hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, it helps a lot. We got playlists of what if stuff, playlists of Ahsoka stuff, so check that out on my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.